Hey everyone, it's Brad and Josh here, and we welcome you back, or for the first time, to We'll Bring the Popcorn, your favorite film and TV podcast.
On today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the new Marvel film, The Fantastic Four: First Steps, as well as the new Netflix film, Happy Gilmore 2.
So we're going to jump straight into our first review, which is The Fantastic Four: First Steps. Marvel's first family is finally part of the MCU. You know, it's taking place on a different Earth, so 828, which is a special meaning why that's 828, which is a really nice touch that pay attention towards the end and you'll see where that is. We might have a few spoilers about this, but I'm going to start off by saying I had such a fun time with this. It really felt like we finally got the Fantastic Four as the Fantastic Four. We got the family dynamic. We got the characters feeling and looking like their comic counterparts. Like, I didn't despise the last Fantastic Four as much, but it had a lot of problems. You know, the way Doom looked and trying to do the dark and gloomy and serious. I enjoyed the Jessica Alba, more kind of poppy, peppy comic movies, but this one is definitely far and above that. Like, we pick up with the Fantastic Four 4 years into their journey. So just like the Superman film, we're jumping several years ahead. We're not doing the origins. We've already got them established. Everyone knows who they are. But we do get, which was done really well, we get that kind of, it's like a news documentary, a news episode that kind of shows us the origin. It shows us them, you know, getting suited up, going out, what happened to them. And I thought that was a fun way for them to still do that introduction of how they got their powers without spending 30, 40 minutes on it. Like, you got a 5-minute scene that was really done. But I really love the 60s retro, sci-fi, futuristic tone. Just the way they talk, they looked, everything else. It fit this so perfectly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with where you're coming from. Like, the internet seems, the biggest gripe I've heard about the film from the internet is like it could use a little bit more action, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't think that was really what this film was about. Like, it's, like you said, establishing this family dynamic of, you know, these people that are the protectors of the earth that they're on. Like, these are it. They are the, like, powered people that we're aware of on this planet, and they're in charge with, you know, protecting the planet. And, you know, that's what this film is really about. Like, they go on this journey to stop this, you know, that you see the Silver Surfer show up in this, you know, in this film, heralding, you know, the arrival of Galactus, who is one of the most powerful beings ever to exist in the Marvel universe. If you paid any attention to the comic stuff, like, his job is to literally eat planets, and he has an insatiable hunger. Like, it's about solving that problem and saving the planet. Saving the planet while also balancing the fact that you get a very pregnant Sue Storm in this film and the arrival of their baby and how that plays into the whole plot of the film. And I just thought it was really well done.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. Like, it does have its issues, which we'll get into here and stuff. But yeah, I love the dynamic. Vanessa Kirby was such a fantastic Sue Storm, because she got that. You know, the first dinner scene where they're saying you're late, and she's got that. Wait, what? What do you mean, huh? Like, it was well acted, because it is. It's about her and Reed's dynamic, that they're, after trying so many times and they failed so many times to have a baby, they finally are going to have a baby, but they're at the point, they're 4 years into being the Fantastic Four. Their superheroes are counted on to save everybody, and then they get this world-ending type of villain that's coming up, and they've got to balance, all right, how do we handle this scientifically, and how do we handle that with having a baby and all that? And I'll say Pedro was a fantastic read. I think Joseph Quinn kind of stole a lot of the show here as the Human Torch as Johnny, because you got the kind of mix of Johnny being the kind of playboy, but it's more like it's being forced on him. Like, you get his sister getting Sue saying, oh, he's single and all this, but he's kind of reluctant to that. And they talked about how they weren't trying to make him be as big of a playboy, but he did have that sarcastic attitude, him and Ben. You know, the Thing had such a great dynamic, but we also got to see him show off a little bit of intelligence. He's figuring things out, and you get his connection with Shia LaBeouf, which I thought that was done really well. Like, visually, she looked fantastic, but the way they handled the surfer and everything else in there was done really well. But I think just everything really meshed and gelled well together. There's a lot of throwbacks to the comics, especially in that, as I said, in that reintroduction news episode that they kind of throw back to all the different things that they fought, and you get the monster they fought in the very first comic cover, and you get a little bit of Mole Man and all the others that they fought, and Red Ghost and other things like that. So they give you basically a quick hit of this and that. But I will say it's kind of hard not to compare this in ways to Superman that we just saw not too long ago, because we jump into Superman 3 years into his, and we're witnessing the first time he loses something. And we're basically kind of doing the same thing here with the Fantastic Four, because we're joining them where they're facing the biggest threat that they've had to face so far, that leaves Reed not knowing what to do. He's used to kind of being the genius, smart guy. I can figure anything out. I know everything. I'm going to be able to do this or that. But he struggles because he's trying to figure out, I'm about to be a dad, and we have this thing, and how do I save my family and the world and everything else, and he definitely struggles. So you've got to kind of look at it at that point. You're jumping in this just like you did with Superman, of they're hitting one of the hardest points that they've been in their career so far.
Yeah, and they do a good job of, making this a very real existential threat to them in their world. Like, Galactus, I gotta say, they couldn't have picked a better person to play Galactus, in my opinion, because, his voice is just so booming. Ralph Ineson's got this really dynamic, deep voice as it is. He just plays such a good Galactus here that's without emotion and, very clearly has his path set in front of him. And he's kind of looking for his successor, and it's kind of where the element of the baby comes in, because if you are big comic book nerds like we are, Franklin Richards, the son of Reed and Sue, is like one of the most powerful beings as well, like in all of the Marvel universe. So it's going to be interesting to see how they have that character going forward too, if they decide to bring Reed and Sue's kid along here, and see how they could further implement him into stories going forward, because that's a heck of a character to introduce right out the gate, and it'd be crazy to not follow up on it with just how powerful Franklin is. And it depends on what direction they're going to start going in here with the rest of the MCU once we get beyond the next two Avengers films, which is another story for another day. But yeah, you get Galactus recognizing very early on that baby is special, and that's a worthy successor for him, and them trying to not only save their baby, it's a fun dynamic of them weighing saving their baby and keeping their family intact versus the needs of the world, right? And they do a good job of exploring that dynamic in this film in such a really smart and really well told way, I think.
I do think it's a little bit weaker part of the story, because we're going to get into a little bit more spoilers with the Fantastic Four now. So as always, head to our wrap up if you don't want to be spoiled at all. But that aspect, I could see, I was okay with it, especially after the scene with Sue walking out with Franklin talking to the crowd. But you're looking at a potential world-ending event happening, and they have the choice between, all right, give up your son or save billions of people, and they chose the son. And you see that fallback, and at first it's like, okay, well, if they are the saviors of the earth, as a dad, I know that would be almost an impossible decision to do. But the way he kind of handled it for a little bit there, but it was Vanessa Kirby carrying that, because she walks out with Franklin and she gives that speech of that they won't give up on their son, but they're not giving you up either. Like, we're looking to protect everybody. We're not willing to sacrifice our son. We're not willing to sacrifice you all either. I think in between those two is where it felt a little bit weaker, but once she finally did that speech, it did bring it back together, being, all right, now you've made it feel better than it seemed like. All right, yeah, just eat the earth because I want to save my kid. Like, I can, as we've talked about, we've looked at reviews and looked at what people online. That's one big thing I've seen them online talking about, which I get, but I didn't dislike it as much, because I said that scene was the payoff for it that made you feel better about why they made their decision and stuff and everything. Because you can look, well, if you're supposed to be the world's heroes, you're supposed to be these big giant saviors, you're going to do whatever to help. But I didn't fully feel that way. But that's what a lot of chatter I've seen online has been about their unwillingness. But it was really Sue Storm that solidified that was the right decision. Like, they're like, we're not just saying we're going to save our son and forget the entire earth and world. We're saying we're not giving up our kid, but we're going to save you too. Like, we're saving everybody. We're not just going to give in to this madman. But it was really that speech that was needed. If they didn't have that speech, it probably would have felt a lot kind of worse than it was. But I think Vanessa Kirby just handled it with such great emotion, because you really are looking at a mom who's going to do anything to save her kid, but realize that she's got to do everything she can, because it plays a big dynamic of, like, is Reed potentially willing to give up their kid to do it? And she's kind of unsure of his intentions, and like, wait, are you thinking that you want to give him our son because you get that dynamic of the mom versus the dad, and, you know, the genius dad is trying to think of every single way, and then the mom is like, this is my kid, like, no.
Yeah, but I want to throw a little bit of cold water on that line of thinking. It's like, pay attention to the whole story. Like, they very clearly were weighing that option the entire time. Like, they were trying to, like, it's a non-starter, we're saving our kid, but the whole film they're practically figuring out how to, you know, save everybody else too. Like, okay, could they have done a better job communicating that to the people of Earth? Sure, but they were also spending time trying to solve the problem that they, you know, were trying to save everyone. Like, in the different iterations they go in trying to do that throughout the film. Like, I don't agree with that line of thinking at all from people. Like, that's literally what they were trying to do in the movie. It was just like, okay, you get to a nice speech where you get everybody on board that they're not abandoning you, but they were spending a lot of time trying to come up with a solution to a very...
Yes, Fantastic Four has never been one that really is a flat, like, hey, I'm just going to act impulsively. You want this? Okay, have my kid. Like, it's never really been that in comic books. They have their dealings, even with Thanos and everything else, are like, well, you want this and you're going to do this. No, we're going to stop you in whatever way we can. So, like, I can see people feeling that could be a little bit weaker, but they kind of missed that buildup and the point of that. It's like, we're going to protect our family, but we're going to protect you too. Like, they have to do both. Like, you just have to worry about yourself. We have to worry about everybody is behind this. Like, 'cause on this earth, they're the heroes. They're the only ones around to do anything about anything, and everyone's expecting them just to drop everything, save the world. Oh, they just wanted because you have that at the press conference, like, oh, you just want your son and you didn't give him your son. Like, no, like, that's our son. Yeah. Like, and then it lets you sit with it a little bit, then you finally get her speech, and it's like, yeah, that was perfectly said, that this is what they're doing. Like, they're not just sacrificing the earth for their son, they're trying to figure out the way to save everybody.
Yeah, and Sue does a lot of the emotional heavy lifting in this, as she really should, because Reed is very much the scientist. They're all bright. They're all astronauts, for the love of God. Like, they're all very bright, intelligent people, but, like, Reed is the super genius, has a solution for everything type, you know, way about him here that, you know, makes him Mr. Fantastic in what he is, but the emotional heavy lifting is very much done by Vanessa Kirby in this, and she's so freaking good, man. Like, this is a really star-making performance for her, and she deserves all of the love that she's getting out of this movie. And, you know, that's not to diminish anyone else's performances in this, because, like you said, I agree Pedro was really, really solid as, you know, Reed, and I'm excited for what they do with him moving forward, because now we're getting into, you know, Doomsday, and we're getting into, you know, Secret Wars, and we got these two mammoth movies on the horizon, and it'll be interesting to see how they incorporate them into this, because one of the big, and you have to go into spoiler mode here for sure, but, you know, the whole figuring out a way that they tie into the rest of the MCU timeline that we're thinking about doesn't necessarily get answered in this movie like I was kind of hoping it would, because if you saw Thunderbolts and saw the end credit scene that comes with that, the Fantastic Four are arriving on Earth.
Or was it the Fantastic Four? Because now the end credits to this movie makes it feel like, all right, who was the one in that ship?
But you get the vehicle with their insignia on it, at least to let them know that it's tied into that MCU somehow. Whether because
we know they're coming, they're part of Doomsday, and and Secret Wars, so we know they've got to get to the MCU Earth eventually.
Right, and that question doesn't get answered in this film,
it was weird to me that
I was
didn't get answered.
a little surprised that it didn't, because I know one of the big theories you and I had, and a lot of other people had, was this was going to be about Galactus seceding on this, and then breaking away and getting away at the last minute and maybe losing and failing. and leaving and finding a way through the timeline to get to, the multiverse jumping and the portals and things like that. Like you thought that was the direction they were probably going to go in, and it wasn't the case. And I'm wondering, like I said, how it gets tied in. Obviously, Doomsday is going to answer that question because they have to show up eventually, but we'll see where they go, because like I said, you have that big question looming over Doomsday when we get there. Is it going to pick up where Fantastic Four leaves off, I'm assuming, but how is it going to tie into everything else, and how is everyone else going to be involved?
Yeah, so we both kind of thought that this would be Galactus would destroy their Earth, but they would get away. Reed would have created the portals or the wormholes to be able to jump to another timeline, and he would come to the MCU timeline, and probably would get Galactus following and figuring out where they went. But yeah, it definitely went a different direction, and I see a few people online who are a bit mixed on that ending, which I enjoyed it. I get that it could have been a little more action-packed, and you're also looking at Galactus as being maybe, some people saying he feels a little weaker. I saw it as, in the ending, they finally get Galactus to come to Earth, and they're trying to set up a trap for him, and he's all about trying to get to Franklin and everything, and we get Sue going into Mama Bear mode, which I really love that aspect. It shows how powerful she is.
Sure.
But I took it as Galactus is this being that doesn't think that anything can touch him, that he's indestructible, that no one has the power to stop him or do anything back. So I felt like he was kind of caught off guard that there was this little bitty human woman who could push him around, and that he was kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Like enough to where he got done. Because we know that can't be the last we see of Galactus. Maybe that what they did there was sending him to our MCU Earth area, and they end up having to jump through. Maybe they'll track and see where he went, and they realize they set another Earth for destruction or something. But it was that weird thing with that ending, is that we thought by the end of it we would be jumping into the MCU timeline, but we're still outside of it. And yeah, it left Galactus somewhere else that we don't really know where he is and what he's doing, and I'm sure we're going to see him again. But it did leave the timelines like really weird, because wait, are you going to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes of Doomsday bringing the Fantastic Four over? Or are you just going to, like, from the way things ended, it feels like you have to start Doomsday with that to bring it over, and it would have made more sense to me, and of course we haven't seen Doomsday yet, that should have happened in this film. It could have even been one of the bonus scenes, but it wasn't.
Right. And if you know anything about the story of Secret Wars, you know that Galactus is a very big part of Secret Wars. So you know that's not the last you're going to see of Galactus here, because Galactus is such an overseer of the battle on this planet that gets formed, where all these heroes get teleported to and have this big good versus evil battle that they have. He's going to play a part in that. And I'm kind of like forward projecting what I think is going to happen just based on what we've gotten so far. I think what you're saying is very apropos. Like, he may have pushed him through a multiversal wormhole there and put him in the universe with the Marvel universe that we already know exists, right? That we've spent so much time on, and he's still going to try to come to Earth to get Franklin, and Franklin's not going to be there. And there's going to be some way to tie it all together. Like, in this film, to kind of take a step back and how Doom plays a part in this. Obviously, Doom is the main villain for Fantastic Four and has been throughout the comics. You get the introduction of Latveria at like a UN type press conference or whatever.
But no one's ever sitting at the seat.
No one's sitting in the chair. You know who the Latverian embassy representative is. It's Dr. Doom. We all know who that is. So, he's lingering around somewhere, and you don't know where he's playing in yet. If you pay attention to the mid-credits scene in the film in particular, you get a little bit of an answer. So go see the movie and stay at least to that, because there are two scenes, but you really need the second one.
Yeah, the end credit scene isn't as big as to stay for, but mid-credit scene is absolutely one to stay for.
Absolutely, for sure. And spoiler. But yeah, Doom's on the horizon. Doom's lingering. Obviously, Doomsday is a big event for this, and it's all leading up to Secret Wars too. And I'm just so excited for where this could go and how this is going to eventually tie into everything. I wish we'd, like, my one big knock on the film is I wish we would have gotten a little more pushed in that direction as far as where we know we're going. Because really, if I'm not mistaken, unless I'm forgetting about a movie, the only thing we have between now and Doomsday next December is Spider-Man.
Yeah, because, I mean, we got Marvel Zombies, we have Eyes of Wakanda, we have Wonder Man, and Daredevil Season 2, but there isn't anything that would be directly... Yeah, so the next film after this is Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it comes out a year from now, so there's...
And originally Spider-Man was after Doomsday, and they swapped it, so we don't know if Spider-Man will have anything to do at all.
So we got like a year and a half before we get this question answered, potentially, if Spider-Man has nothing to do with Doomsday.
Apparently they're still writing Doomsday while they film it, which doesn't bode that well for a good story if you're filming and you're still trying to figure out scenes and things that happen, because they don't film in order. So you don't know how that's going to affect, like, is it going to mess up? Well, they just wrote this and filmed this, but do they pay close enough attention to what they did here, or maybe a change? Like, it's just kind of weird that a movie that big that's being filmed is still being written while being filmed.
It's Avengers. It's got a very high level of expectations tied to it, because two of the best films in their entire run were both Avengers films. Like, what are we doing here? 3 if you count the first one. Like, you throw an Avengers label on something, it's a big deal. Yep. But we don't know. We don't know how it's going to all tie together. That's the one thing I wish they'd have done a little bit better of, was giving us some sense of direction as far as where that's going to go for the MCU. And it was kind of left as a big question mark. And then I think the fact that we're talking about it kind of takes just a little bit away from the impact of the film for me. Just a little bit, not enough, because at the end of the day, it's still a really good comic book movie that's not like over the top action wise, but does a good job of setting up, you know, the dynamic that these characters have. And if they're going to be playing a big role in the MCU moving forward, like, you get that backstory and now you're rooting for these characters. Like, you have that emotional connection now. And I think they did a good job of that at its core, of connecting you to these characters and having you feel for them. Each of them individually, I think they did a good enough job for each of them. I wish that Ben would have gotten a little bit more time.
I was going to touch on that, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, Ben's got a real interesting story too, but he's got a potential love interest now with this moving forward. I'm excited if they can, you know, follow up on that for him. But yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see how they tie it all into everything now, with really the only thing we have to look forward to is, outside of Spider-Man, Doomsday itself. So we'll see where they go.
Yeah, I was going to bring up, because I thought Eben did a great job as a thing. Like, the humor and the heart, a lot of that was wrapped around his character. And we do get a thing that's a little bit more accepting, because, again, we're 4 years in, so he's a little more accepting of his appearance. You see him wearing suits and looking kind of more dapper as he's walking around the streets and stuff. And you see kids yelling for him to lift up cars and throw cars and stuff. And yeah, you get to see that. We're fun touching on how does someone like the Thing date? And, you know, with the Jessica Alba, Fantastic Four, he did, you know, dated a blind woman who accepted him for who he is. It was a little odd seeing Natasha Lyonne come in as this character, as a love interest, because she voiced Birdie in What If, and we thought, well, if she was going to come into live action MCU, because they're supposed to be tied together, What If and, you know, the animated and the live action stuff is still supposed to be loose. I mean, those are different tales, but she played a character that's supposedly pretty powerful in herself as well. And then she's playing a teacher, unless maybe there's a secret identity or something else, and she's not fully looking like Birdie and all that. But you never know. But I thought it was fun enough. She didn't have a whole lot of time. But yeah, we really wish we would have seen a little bit more of the Thing and his story and journey. He kind of took a backseat to most everybody else. But when him and Johnny were together, it was really good, because at this point you've got marketing everywhere. So you got Johnny pulling toys out that he doesn't directly say flame on, but his toy does, and everybody's wanting the Thing to say it's clobbering time. It's like, no, that's just a thing for the cartoon, and Johnny sees him get embarrassed over it, so he's always like picking on him, like, come on, say it, say the thing, say the thing. And even like he's carrying him down, he's like, just say it, say the thing.
Like, I'm not going to say it.
And you finally do get to hear clobbering time in there, and it was great and fantastic. But I do agree, it could have used a little bit more action. Like, we got most of the action in a throwback, And then we got Galactus fight, and that's kind of it. But it was all about that family dynamic and setting up their family and their struggles and how they do it. And I do agree that I did think by the end of this movie we were going to see how they get to the MCU, but it wasn't there. Because we got the Thunderbolt scene, as you mentioned, that does take us with the fantastic ship coming to the MCU Earth, and then we're still kind of left like, okay, now it can only happen in Doomsday. It wouldn't make sense if Spider-Man 4 is supposed to be a grounded, street-level Spider-Man. What sense would it make in there to have anything Fantastic Four related? Because you think if it, now that it being in front of Doomsday, any teaser it has is going to be for Doomsday, unless, do they save that 15, 20 seconds to do another Fantastic Four end credit scene? Because it just did feel out of place that we didn't get to the point that we thought we were going to get to that introduced him to the MCU. So now they either have to take Spider-Man's end credit scene or part of Doomsday to bring them in.
Yeah.
And I will say some of the CG was a little rough at times, mainly with the baby. They say they filmed with real babies, but I believe they filmed mostly with a little girl, and it was a little boy that they had, so they CG'd the face, and it looked a little rough at times. Like, sure. It was a little jarring when the baby's face kind of didn't match up with the head movements and everything else. So I have to say Herbie was a lot of fun as well. So I love the interaction with Johnny, that Johnny kind of treats Herbie like a dog or like a pet, because he'll just rub it on his head as he's walking away. Like, thanks, Herbie, and then like just walk away. Like, I don't know why that tickled me that he just did that every single time.
I love Joseph Quinn. He's so funny.
Like I say, he stole the show with the Human Torch. He got a little bit more dynamic in here because he got everything with Shia LaBeouf, and he had some more emotional depth, and he had more humor, but you also got to see the more smart scientific side of him as well.
Yeah, he was a pretty well fleshed out character in this, and I really appreciate they took the time to do that with him. And like I said, I'm excited for whatever future we get for them in this. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a really well done movie. I can't knock it too much. Like I said, I wish it tied in a little better with everything that's coming up, but outside of that, I don't really have too many complaints with what they did in this film.
I had a fun
time. You said, we can nitpick a couple of things here and there, but I think you and I both walked out, and I would say a good majority of the people in the theater that were in there with us, because it was jam-packed again, and it did amazing at the box office like we were hoping it would. And I think there was a lot of positive buzz coming out of the theater for it, for people. Like I said, had it been 30 minutes longer and we would have gotten what we've gotten, I'd probably knock it a little bit more for dragging. But it's a well-paced 2-hour movie that doesn't feel like it's a 2-hour movie. Like, it felt like it went fairly quickly. Like, we got through the film, and I was like, man, it's been 2 hours already. Like, and that's not to say anything about the lack of action. Like, I was so hooked on everything that was going on, it just didn't feel like I was there for 2 hours. And that's a testament to a good movie for me that can kind of have you suspend your noticing of how long something's going.
Yeah, so the Fantastic Four First Steps is, to me, the best live-action Fantastic Four that we've had so far. The dynamic between Reed and Sue is great, but Johnny steals the show in most scenes. Eben is fantastic as a thing. They do a great job of showing the family dynamic, along with giving us full Galactus. Not a big space cloud. We get full Galactus, who looked fantastic. I do get the ending could have been a little bit stronger with the action with Galactus and with bringing us into the MCU a little bit more and tying that in, but I had such a fun, enjoyable time with this film. I'm giving it a solid 8.5.
Yeah, I landed on an 8.5 too. Like, I wanted to rank it a little bit higher. I was leaning towards a 9, but the fact that it didn't tie into the MCU as much as I was hoping it would left a little bit to be desired. It does suffer a little bit from a slow burn and build throughout the film, but I think they do such a good job of sacrificing action for the, swapping it out for, really emotionally connecting to these characters. And I think that they did such a good job of that you were rooting for these guys at the end, especially Sue Storm, who I know you were a big fan of Johnny in the film. Sue Storm, in my opinion, was the best character in the film overall. Like, she gives such a great emotional performance, including the mom element to, Franklin in this, and just really being the heartbeat of the family that you can really see. And, it's such a good film that it really has me excited for the future of the Fantastic Four. I'm so excited that Marvel finally got their hands on it and got a chance to do something with it after some really bad iterations that have come out over the years. But I think they gave us a movie that we can be proud of for the first family of Marvel, who, without whom a lot of the comics we see now and things that we've gotten out of Marvel Comics over the years wouldn't be possible without the success of these guys. So the fact that they took a group of characters so important to Marvel lore and have done a great job of introducing them to everybody in this way, it makes me really happy to see that they got the opportunity to make a film like this and really give us something to, really be excited for the future of Marvel for this.
And it made me smile that they did do a lot to pay tribute to Jack Kirby and his involvement in the characters, because if you know Marvel Comics at all, Stan Lee gets most of the credit with a lot of things, which he deserves credit for many things, but Jack Kirby was that cornerstone, that foundation of so many things, of storytelling and artistry and everything else in Marvel. And it was great to see how much love and appreciation they did show for Kirby in this film. And like, it just, that retro 60s futuristic look fitted so well, which allowed it to pay even more tribute and honor to those early Fantastic Four comics and everything. And it had great humor. It was just such a fun film overall. I had such a blast, where I was thinking right after it of when can I try to get back into theaters to see it again, because I had that much fun with it.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely got a high rewatchability, which helps in the way we rank things and the way we score things too. And I really want to dive back into it and pay more attention to those nods to Jack Kirby in particular, that they do such a good job of, doing in this. I love the, aesthetics, the visual aesthetics of the set pieces and everything like that, that really did a really good job in this. I love getting the cloak and the hat from the Thing. I'll never not be happy seeing, him with the classic trench coat and hat. It
gets Thing and then Raphael from the first TMNT movie. Like, I always see those two the
parallels are there. Very similar characters if you dive into those things. Maybe Raph with a little more of a temperament issue, but Ben has his own temperament problems too. Very, very parallel characters. We could talk about that another time. But yeah, I was just really, really happy with the way this turned out, man. I'm excited for the future of Marvel here for sure.
Yeah, so the Fantastic Four First Steps is in theaters now. If you check it out, come talk to us. Let us know what you thought. Let's talk about it, because we really enjoyed it. We want to see what you think. So come to our Discord, our comments. Let us know what you think, but go check it out. Again, if you need to check it out find your discount days at your local cinema and stuff, but it's one that's so well worth seeing. Like, we don't really have a great IMAX close to us, but I've heard great things about, especially when it comes to Galactus, that a lot of his scenes are in IMAX, and you get to see so much more of them. So, if you got a chance to check it out IMAX, let us know if it was worth seeing in there for the extra screen height for Galactus.
For sure. I want to move us now into our other film review of the week. We have Happy Gilmore 2 on Netflix. This is the follow-up, obviously, to the very successful Happy Gilmore film that Adam Sandler made in 1996. Can you believe it's been that long? Like, it's almost 30 years since the original film came out, and I gotta say, man, this movie was heavy, heavy, heavy on the nostalgia factor, the callbacks, the tributes to people who couldn't be involved in the sequel because they had passed on. And he really did a good job of trying to get everybody that he could back into this sequel in some sort of role and some sort of follow-up from these characters that, man, outside of the crazy amount of celebrity cameos we got in this film, the one thing that I'll take away the most from this film was just how much care Adam Sandler gives to people that were involved in the making of the original film, whether they get a tribute or came back as a life update in this film. And it's just one of the things that I've always appreciated about Adam Sandler is he rides for his people, man. Like, if you're on his team, he will take care of you, and he did that very heavy in this movie.
I'll give him credit for that, because he also pays a tribute to Cameron Boyce, who played his son in Grown Ups, which my kids know from the Descendants films from Disney, and it was nice to see that. He's just on a little bit of a monitor for you see a couple scenes that he was in, I believe, from Grown Ups. Yeah. But a little tribute to him. But I will give that. He gives great respect to those, because you got Bob Barker's passed away. You had Donald the heckler, he passed away. That was Joe Flattery. You had Mr. Larson, Richard Keel passed away. Of course,
Chubbs.
You had Chubbs with Carl Weathers. Yeah. You had Grandma, and Frances Bay played her. All those have passed in the 29 years since this happened. But I like that, but I think it also hurt the film quite a bit in the way that it just felt like it was, all right, do you remember this scene? I'm going to show you the scene, and then we'll like recite a line, and I'll show you this scene, and we'll recite a line, and I'll show you this scene, and we'll recite a line. Like it kind of didn't gel with me too well. Like because Happy Gilmore is one of my favorites. Like we grew up in the Adam Sandler era of Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison and Mr. Deeds and 51st Dates. We also had Chris Farley around that time as well with, Tommy Boy and all that. And I just felt like it was a little too heavy-handed with the nostalgia and the throwbacks and everything else, that it just kind of fell flat for me. I had a few chuckles. I will say John Daly had me laughing just about every time he was on scene, because we already know he's a crazy personality anyways. And so just him just going full bore into it, just sitting there pumping hand sanitizer into his mouth, and he and Steve Buscemi getting in a fight in the basement and stuff. I had a great time with him. And like Eminem's cameo was a lot of fun in there, even though it went to a dark area and everyone just moved on from it. I just felt like it was kind of all over the place and exactly what it wanted to be when it came to tonal. I didn't get that many laughs out of this one as I did with Happy Gilmore. I felt it was just kind of trying too hard. I'd put this more like Dumb and Dumber 2. Like I felt like it was trying a little too hard with the nostalgia and the throwbacks, that it kind of just lost my interest a little bit.
I want you to take note of this day and this episode for a very specific reason, because this is the first time, I think, in a long time that you and I couldn't be on more polar opposite ends of this. I knew going in this was going to be a car crash of a film.
Oh, I did too.
And I loved every second of this movie. I had so much fun watching this. I laughed hard several times in this film. Like, there's a certain type of humor that really, like, when it gets it right, makes me laugh and makes me laugh hysterically. And I got a few moments of that in this film, like this scene where, his kids are very clearly caricatures and, just over the top for a reason. And he's having trouble getting his car started. And they all just go and beat the crap out of his car to try to get it to start. And then Steve Buscemi shows up and starts kicking his car too. But it's because he's not one of the family. They start trying to kick the crap out of Steve Buscemi. I don't know why. It just made me laugh. It was really funny. But I knew it was going to be that. I knew it was going to be over the top. I wasn't expecting, the greatest movie I've ever seen. And one of the things that we talk about so much is when they redo these movies, you worry so much about the humor translating from the last, from a movie that was 30 years old to now, and the same jokes don't land. There are some jokes in this that don't land very well, but a lot of it does, and it's really I got a lot of fun and enjoyment out of this film. I'm not gonna just to preface by saying, jumping ahead a little bit, because I know we're gonna give this a rating. I'm not gonna score it super high from a pure cinematic perspective, because I don't think they'll be doing a service. But I guarantee you I'm going to watch this film multiple times. And it's just, I think you balance the throwbacks because, yeah, it's a classic comedy, but it's also, it also gives the care to, like, hey, here's this kid. He was his caddy in the first film. Now he's playing against him on the golf tour, and he didn't recognize him. I didn't recognize him either. Then I was like, oh, God, it's the caddy.
Well, it's not the same actor.
Yeah, obviously.
So it's a professional golfer playing the
Of course, but it's like, he's like, oh, that's who it's supposed to be, and that's who he was like, oh, okay, that's awesome. But, like, it worked. I don't know why it worked, but it worked. It maybe I was in, like, a really good mood when I watched it. Like, I was really looking forward to this, and went in with no expectations of like any type of brilliant film, but the first one wasn't a brilliant film either.
Though I love the original, it might be a 7 at best that you would give a rating on that one, but it was one for that time and everything worked. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I really could not connect with anything in here. And I'll get into a little spoilers here because you have to for the main bit of the story, is that, it kicks off that it has been 29 years. Yeah. Happy is still out there golfing, but at one of the tournaments, he sends one of his drives long and ends up killing his wife, which that felt dark. A little well, why after 29 years had you decided to sequel you're going to kill off basically only female character that you had in the first movie? And Julie Bowen is fantastic. She's a great comedic actress.
Sure.
You could have done a whole lot more with her in here, and you killed it off. And then it's basically him and his kid. So it gets that he's become this raging drunk, and he's kicked off the tour, and he loses his grandma's house again, and he loses everything because he doesn't know how to pay a bill. It just, like I said, it felt like it was trying too hard to be funny, and I only got very few chuckles out of things. Like I said, the John Daly stuff was a lot of fun. I loved M&M's. I love seeing Boban show up as the basketball player showing up as the Giants' son and having him streaking and everything else, and having him in that wig. Scotty Scheffler was actually pretty fun, because especially when he gets thrown into prison, he punches somebody out, and he wants to learn from Happy how to do the hockey fight stuff, and then he does that, and he gets disqualified, and famously he had a run-in with the police. I was here in Kentucky.
Yes.
That in the movie he punches a guy and they're coming to arrest him, and he's not again.
Yeah,
goes to prison. That kind of stuff I had fun with, but it just had, for me, it had too few moments of humor that I actually laughed at. A lot of most everything felt like it was just trying too hard, or it was just like literally showing you a scene from the original Happy Gilmore and then doing something else. There was also a really, I like a good "That's What She Said" joke.
Oh, that was terrible.
But there was like a 5-minute sequence of really, 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 really bad "That's What She Said" jokes being done one after another, and it was just like, you're spending like 5 minutes on these bad "That's What She Said" jokes.
I think you're over embellishing it a little bit. Like it was
2 or 3 minutes, but it felt long.
Sure, that was
And
like
that's what she said.
There you go. And like they're not all bangers, and they're not all gonna be. Like it's not gonna just be witty joke, so funny like the entire time. Not every joke in this movie hits, but not every joke hit in the first one either. Like
absolutely. I rewatched the first Happy Gilmore not too long ago. I still enjoyed it, but it didn't have the same impact as it did when I was 13 and watched it for the first time.
Of course, but I don't know, man. I'm a little surprised that we're on opposite sides of this, but like I said, I say that to say I'm just not going to score this. Like, it's not a great movie. It's over the top. It's absurd. It's everything you want from a follow-up to this to be. Like, does it work for who he wants to be now? Absolutely. You get all these characters that come back that were a part of the original. I thought the stuff with Shooter was funny.
I really love Christopher McDonald coming back. I thought he was so over the top as Shooter coming back, because it's ludicrous that because he stole the gold jacket, he has spent the last 29 years in an insane asylum because of that and stuff, and he gets out. I thought he committed so hard to it that he was really fantastic, but he was also a little bit underutilized because of that. He was so fun with that. Like, that's why I said it has these moments that really shows like, okay, this could be fun, and then it has moments that really drag down. Like, his wife plays he has his kids, he's got his wife, he's got his friend, he's got everybody, and it does feel like it's more too many cameos. That you get Rob Schneider in and he's doing his Waterboy stuff, and you get he's almost 80 years old now, and he's doing his Waterboy bit and everything else, and playing a homeless man on the beach. Like, I'm trying to find his name on the paper because I forget the actor's name.
Sure.
But I mean, it was fun, but it just felt a little too heavy-handed with how it was, like one cameo after another after another after another after another. It was just like, they'd do a little scene, and then, well, let's just set up some cameos to do another scene. Because there were some cameos that were fun, like when you get him sitting with all the other gold jackets, and you've got Lee Trevino with him, and all the other, Jack Nicklaus orders an Arnold Palmer to Travis Kelce, who's playing a waiter, and he's like, so an Arnold Palmer, no, Jack. But I get that a lot. Like, that was a fun, goofy joke.
It's
but like I said, for me, it was just too sparse of those moments happening, because the rest was just almost too over the top, especially when you get it with the new golf league and what they're doing, and that all his golfers they've had these tendons cut that they can it's absurd, but it just kind of lost. Like Happy Gilmore was absurd and over the top, but this kind of took it to a new level of absurd.
Well, you got to ratchet it up a little bit, and I think that's what they wanted to do. It was very clearly a dig at the new golf league as well, like the one
absolutely,
the Saudi golf league that is got a lot of controversy around it too, because they pay a bunch of money and they got all this other stuff. You know what I mean? And like it's a little bit of a satire on that, and it's meant to be satire. That's all it's intended to be. Is it absolutely 1,010% over the top? Of course it is, especially when they get into the final like 5-on-5 golf tournament stuff. It's absurd and it's ridiculous, but it was still fun. Like I enjoyed it. My goal right now is to get you to turn around on this film.
I do plan on trying to watch again. Maybe it's the mood I was in, but it was one that I could sit through Happy Gilmore and you could see me laughing maybe every minute or two. And this one, it was maybe every 30 minutes I laughed. Like I didn't feel like it. I felt like it was just trying too hard because I get absurdity. I'm not going into this expecting gold that it's going to be such an Oscar award winning movie. I really loved Happy Gilmore and I was like, oh, they're going to follow this up, but it was just really heavy handed with the cameos and with the throwbacks and everything else at it. As you get the ludicrous stuff like him and Shooter getting a fight in a graveyard and Bob Barker, his grandma and everybody. Like you get that it's everybody who died is in that one single graveyard together and they're fighting over it. And then they have the gag with the Mr. Lady, which was like if it was a freshly dug grave, I would have found it funnier. But since it wasn't, it was like, okay, I get the bit, but it was just kind of like it just felt like so many of the bits and stuff was just trying too hard to me.
I'm going to turn you around in this film. My goal is to turn you around. I want to watch it with you in a better mood. Like I want to watch. I want to watch it with you.
I don't want to dislike it. Like I love Adam Sandler's stuff. Like he's a fantastic dramatic actor. I also felt in this one he was almost kind of phoning it in a little bit more. I know he's supposed to be playing a Happy that's a little more depressed and that's a little bit more down and stuff, but it more felt like Adam was just kind of going through the motions with playing Happy until close to the end when you start seeing him feel like Happy again. Then you got to see it, but the first half I felt like he was kind of just okay, I'm here. I'm doing this movie.
I couldn't disagree with you more on that.
You're wrong.
I really couldn't disagree with you more because he went through the very real loss of his wife, who he loved more than anything. He had multiple kids with. Like his dive into alcoholism was, I think, well done in all the different funny ways that he was trying to hide liquor and do all that stuff. I thought was hysterical. Like all the weird, crazy spots that you can.
The first couple times it was funny, but when you have 50 different things that he's hiding alcohol in.
Very realistic for alcoholics. I'll tell you. I know you're not a drinker,
like I said, everything it was amped up over the top, which I could appreciate, but I feel like it went and stayed too far with the over the topness. Like it just kind of because in the end, it's supposed to be a story about a guy who's lost his wife. Yeah. He's fell back to rock bottom. He's trying to support his daughter. His boys, not as much, but he is. Yeah. It's more about his daughter wants to be in, ballerina school and just his wife who plays her dance teacher at the Boys and Girls Club. So, well, I can't help her anymore, but she needs to go to $75,000 a year school to really do ballet correctly and stuff. It was just like, okay. Like, I don't know. Nothing really connected with me. Like I said, the most fun I had with it was John Daly. John Daly and Eminem's cameos really got me. Having Guy Fieri show up was pretty funny as well for that. But again, most of it was 5-10-second gags that got it. I just feel like it tried too many gags and tried to go back to the well. Because you got... Well, they'll show this clip with a line, but someone else in the movie says the line just off kilter, especially like those kids who are sitting in the golf course are just saying it. Just felt like we're just going to repeat everything that we say in Happy Gilmore, which is nostalgia can be fun when you do it in light doses and do it in little ways. Like 95% of this movie just felt like it was that throwback to where it felt like it didn't really have a story that was kind of fun to follow.
Let me ask you this: How often do we find ways to quote films like funny lines from films to each other on a daily basis.
Oh, all the time.
All the time. And it's
no
kind
one's
of
going to be quoting Happy Gilmore too.
It's
kind
kind
of
of
a
a
problem I have.
It's kind of a meta take on that too, because it's like hey, this is how people who, if they met Happy Gilmore, the character in real life, would probably do to them, right? Like it's. I get where you're coming from. In some ways, you can convince me that they do overdo it, but I think they know they're overdoing it and they just lean into it. And you just kind of.
And sometimes I can have fun with that. This time, it didn't work for me.
I want to turn you around on this film. That is my new life's mission. I'm going to stop having every other goal that I have set for myself, and I'm going to turn you around on this film because I thought it was hysterical. I loved every bit of it. I want to give a little bit of a special shout out to Bad Bunny, who plays his caddy in the film. Hilarious in this film too. Like he does such a good job of playing the waiter who becomes the caddy, and like just gets a little bit more shine than obviously the last caddy got in the original film as well. But I thought he did a really good job in this one too. And him being the big mega star that he is in the world of music, like. He's got a few solid acting roles under his belt now, and I thought he really had some opportunity to shine in this film a little bit too, which made me want to go out and get some breadsticks after watching.
He wasn't bad at times. There was one part that like Adam had him do his own happy place and stuff, and it was Travis Kelce getting covered in honey and being attacked by a bear and stuff, which I got a little chuckle out of it, but then it didn't the happy place was always used with Happy Gilmore. That got him in the mood to be able to compete and go. Having him do it really didn't have any bearing on the movie other than just to be another bit. Like that's the problem I had with it. It was just too many. It was like a Saturday Night Live sketch and then another Saturday Night Live sketch, because there was even Saturday Night Live sketches. There was some bad CGI of trying to bring back a younger Adam Sandler stuff, but it felt like a sketch tied to another sketch for me. Like. The original Happy Gilmore isn't a fantastic film by any means, but I felt like it had a more cohesive, flowing story that made you connected to the humor and the bits and everything that they did in there. And I felt this was just nothing but bits and gags, and it just lost me. Like I didn't. Sure. I love stupid humor. I did not love this movie at all.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna make it my mission to turn you around.
I will give, because I love the original Happy Gilmore, and I do have such a sour opinion on this. I will watch it again. I didn't have much fun with it, and that was disappointing to me that I didn't have a whole lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. You're allowed to be wrong sometimes, and I think this is an instance of you being wrong.
If you look online and the ratings everywhere, more people agree with me on that.
Of course, because you're getting your opinions from the internet, because we know how positive the internet is.
No, but seriously, you didn't get much marketing or anything leading up to this. Sure. It kind of just came out. Yeah. And it was one of those that you didn't get a theatrical release. It's just straight to Netflix and stuff. It just felt like, hey, I'm just gonna get all my buddies together again and do a movie, which can be fine. Most of it just fell flat to me, and I do hate that, because I enjoy Adam Sandler as a comedic actor and as a serious actor, and I do love the different bits that Steve Buscemi and all his buddies and friends have done throughout the years. There was just something about this that just felt like too many bits and gags and throwbacks. Like I said, there's so many scenes that are just literally taking a scene from Happy Gilmore, showing it again, adding one or two things to it, then moving on to the next bit, and then you would do the same thing. Like, well, hey, you remember this kid? You remember this? You remember this? You remember this? Do you remember this? Like, it was a little heavy-handed in that way, and I think that's where it lost me, because I can do stupid, I can do over-the-top comedies like this. They're some of my favorites, like Tommy Boy, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison. All those are some of my top stupid kind of comedies that I've really enjoyed. It just fell flat for me. Like, I just didn't feel like, and the ending, it just kind of ends in that way. And then how he's like, well, if you make this shot, we won't do a draw. Well, what do you want? Well, I want your car, and I want my house, my grandma's house back. And like, it kind of just, it started the movie off resetting everything that happened in Happy Gilmore with this happy ending. And then you get him back to the end of the movie. He has most things back but his wife. It just still kind of irked me that they killed her off. Like, it felt like you could have had such more dynamic with this story. You could still have done that. well, maybe Happy needs to come out of retirement and help with this new league because the PGA is struggling and they can't get people to watch. And you got this new league that's over the top and you need Happy to come, but he's reluctant because he's a family. I feel like there was different ways they could have done the story that would have probably felt a little bit better than just gag after gag after gag after gag. Like it just felt like it felt like I was watching different skits made into a movie.
Sure, and it's a fair criticism, but like I don't know, it just worked for me. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it, but
I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just saying to me, I'm just like
I can tell you won't, but I want to know how limited of availability Julie Bowen may have had to make this movie. Could have also played in.
She came out and said that she's glad they didn't recast her, and that for trade her in for a younger model. Which I'm like, all right, so she's gonna have some to meet to what she does in here, and she's got maybe 2 minutes of screen time, 4 minutes of screen time, maybe.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes or less of screen time in it, and I just wonder if that played into how they put the film together, because you don't know what her availability for that could have been. She may be. I mean, she's a very successful actress now, especially with, Modern Family being like one of the biggest, sitcoms of all time. Like, she's an in-demand actress and working on other things too. So maybe maybe her schedule didn't allow her to do too much in this, and they went with that and rolled with it and made a story that they did. Would I have liked to have seen what you thought it could have been? Sure. Like, that would have worked too, but that's not what we got here.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
So, I mean, like... we nitpick on people for fantasy booking stuff all the time, but I think you're doing a little bit of that here based on what we got. But I don't know.
I wanted I wanted a better story than it gave us. And I'm not expecting gold. I just wanted something that made the comedy and the cameos and everything make sense. And it just felt like we're just
it's a hot
every
mess.
scene we're just going to throw in everybody.
It's a hot mess, but I was expecting a hot mess, and I think that's why I'm more forgiving of this film because yes, Happy Gilmore is one of my favorite comedies of all time too. I love that movie. I quote that movie all the time. But I wasn't expecting it to be as good. I
wasn't either. I didn't have any expectations.
And I don't think it was going to. I never thought it was going to be as good, especially when it's coming straight onto Netflix like it is. That's not to say he hasn't had some good Netflix movies. Like Sandler's got some really good Netflix films. He's got some really bad ones, but he's got some good ones too. Like it felt like a tribute sequel is what it was. It was like and that's kind of what it felt like. It was like a tribute, a love story to Happy Gilmore, updated to now with a little bit of a story thrown in there. The film plot is not that deep. I mean, yeah, he goes through this horrific thing and dives into an alcoholic, becoming an alcoholic and then pulling himself back up out of the rut that he's in to at least get himself back to, normal and in at a good place. And I think that's the bare minimum of what the plot of the film was. But I don't know, man. It just, I thought if they were going to lean into it as heavy as they did, I'm glad they leaned all the way in to it and did what they did with it. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, if you're going to own it, own it. And they owned it. Like, they took that dial and turned it all the way up to 10. And they just went with it. And for whatever reason, for me, it worked. Like, it just did. Like, I laughed a lot, and it did what I think it needed to do for me. Like,
unfortunately for me, it didn't work. It was too much of everything to just feel entertaining to me. Like, it's just throwing stuff at you and hoping that it sticks. Like, that's why I said it feels like a sketch. It's like, well, we're just kind of improving and working out what works here, and like the whole movie was just kind of like that. And like I said, I like Christopher McDonald coming back as Shooter. He was a lot of fun. John Dale was a lot of fun. Eminem's cameo was fun. Scotty Scheffler was fun. But past that, and Boban was, fun in there. Past that, it just didn't work for me. I wish I felt the way you did. I had no expectations coming to this. I expected it to just, all right, they're doing a sequel. Don't know if this humor works. Nowadays, especially with us seeing it 29 years later after Happy Gilmore and everything else too, does it work? I'm glad you connected with it and had a lot of fun with it. It was just something I could not get into. Like, it just made me feel like this didn't really need to exist, and it just didn't bring me any fun. Like, I only had a very few small moments there where it actually made me laugh. The rest of it was like, okay, I see this joke coming, I saw that joke coming, I see this. Like it was, and delivery and a lot of stuff was just kind of felt flat.
Sure. And I'm giving you a lot of grief just because
How
we
dare you.
don't get to disagree too much, and it's kind of fun when we do because
You see how he bullies me?
I do. I'm gonna get off your lawn now and let you go back and take the nap that you so desperately need right now. But
Vacation for my vacation.
right. I'm glad you had a lot of fun. But yeah, in the end, Happy Gilmore 2 is a film that really divided the two of us, as you can tell by the discourse that we've had here. In my opinion, I think it leans into the fact that it knows it's going to be over the top and hits a lot of really fun nostalgia notes. I really love the tributes that Happy Gilmore did to pay homage to the original, and just showing the love to all the people that couldn't be involved in the sequel, while also just kind of taking it and modernizing a bit. I'm just having a lot of fun with it. It's not the best cinematic movie you're ever going to see. I can't give it that high of a rating. I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. Purely for the enjoyment and the humor that I got out of it. It's not a strong plot. It's not the best well acted film I'm ever gonna see. But for me, for whatever reason, it struck the right humor notes for me that I got so much enjoyment out of it. It gets a little bit of a bump for me just because I want to go back and watch it again and kind of watch it a few more times. If it's rewatchable for me, I'll score it a little bit higher. It's not a great movie by any means, but I still got a lot of enjoyment out of it, and it's one I could see myself going back to.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, Happy Gilmore 2 was a letdown. I didn't have expectations going in, but when just following up one of my favorite comedies, I was hoping to have some enjoyment out of it, and I just felt like you've got 40-plus cameos from his family to his friends to golfers to actors. I'll give it props for the tributes it does to the people who have passed away. They said Christopher McDonald and John Daly, Scotty Scheffler, they were all fun and a little bit to it, but the small amount of laughs that this gave me compared to the rest of the time, I'm just sitting there, meh, through the whole thing. I'm giving it a 4. Like, I did not have an enjoyable time watching Happy Gilmore 2. It just felt like a really forced, heavy-handed, just trying too hard to pay respect to the classic, because it just shoveled in cameos, shoveled in gags. It just felt like I was watching a skit of different scenes being put together as a film. Like, I wasn't expecting a good plot. I just wanted stuff that would make me laugh, and most of it just felt a little too heavy-handed to me. So, yeah, fortunately, it's a 4 for me.
4 out of 10 is absolutely crazy. But you know what? You're entitled to your opinion. It's one of the rare times that you and I are that far off on a rating.
Pretty far off on that.
It's not that common. We tend to have very similar tastes, as people like to say we don't disagree that much. I'm glad we had the discourse, though. I'm glad we could talk about, why it worked for me, but it didn't work for you. Like, I love when we can have that, debate. And I don't take any of it personally, obviously. I'm just kind of jabbing at you a little bit. I'm poking at him under the table a little bit. Like, I'm going to turn you around on this film. And I mean that genuinely. Like, we're going to watch this back at some point. You're going to come to my house. Like, you're already here, but you're going to come over on a day we're not recording. We're going to sit down and we're watch it. We're going to laugh, and we're going to have a good time.
I'm game for that, but
we're going to have a good time. Like, I'm going to turn.
I don't know if I'm going to laugh too.
And then I'm going to brag to everybody on here when you laugh more than the 2 times you said you did in this film. But like, I love that we could have that conversation, and that's fun. That's the fun part of movies. But this, I do feel, is a case of how your mood going into a film can affect your enjoyment of it. You may have been like, I don't want to assume the mood you were in when you watched it, but I know you were coming back off of vacation. I'm assuming you watched it yesterday, probably.
I watched it last night.
Yeah, and you were tired and just coming back from vacation and kind of decompressing and going through like that. And maybe you may not have been in the best, space to watch that, having, done that and getting ready to kind of jump back into everyday life. And I'm wondering, when you get reacclimated and maybe get in a little bit of a better place to appreciate the film, that you could watch it and maybe score it a little better. And I'm hoping that's the case. That's what I'm hoping.
Probably not, but I definitely, mood can definitely affect how you feel with the film, especially a comedy. If you're not in the mood to laugh, then there's going to be very few things that get you to laugh. I don't think there'd be enough to bring it up to even close to a 7. Maybe it could bring up a half, or maybe 1 up to a 5 or something. But yeah, I don't know. I'll give it a chance, and I'll watch it with you, and we'll see how it is. But I wanted to have fun with it, but I just couldn't have fun with it. It just felt like it almost felt like one of those direct-to-DVD knockoff, but you have the original cast and everybody back who's part of it, and it just kind of felt like, all right, it was kind of felt like Netflix, here's a bunch of money to make a sequel. We don't really want to, here's even more money. Okay, let's just slap something together, and there's Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah, I could not disagree with you more, but Happy Gilmore 2 is on Netflix right now. Go check it out. Come to our comments and let us know what you thought about it. Are you Team Brad? Are you Team Josh? Be the right choice and be Team Josh on this, and tell Brad just how wrong and out of touch he is on this. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But yeah, let us know what you think. If you feel one way or another about it. I know for me personally, when I watched this, I did watch this with several people simultaneously in like a shared streaming thing that we did through Discord, and you know, everybody that watched it too had kind of a similar opinion watching it as I did. So maybe that group dynamic and group setting maybe helped amplify my enjoyment of it too.
Maybe. Yeah.
And it could have been. And I may go back and watch it again and maybe not feel as strongly about it like as I did too, because that, like I said, your mood and your circumstances could play a part in how you enjoy it. Maybe it amplifies your enjoyment of something you may not have enjoyed as much if you just watched it by yourself, or in your case, the other way around. Like you may have, you know, not been in the best space to catch everything or whatnot, but it's, you know, it's where we landed. And
yeah, because the only thing my brain keeps going back to is John Daly. Like he was kind of stole the movie a little bit from me, and he wasn't in there, but maybe 5-10 minutes himself as well. But like him taking the hand sanitizer, and also Steve Buscemi pulling out some Listerine. He's like, hey, let me get ahead of that. And like, no, and fighting over that. Like that, it was stupid humor, but I could get on board with that because they were hamming it up big time. But yeah, there was just so much. Like I didn't really care for his boys that I'll say in there. Like they were just carbon copies of him. And I get that they're supposed to be carbon copies of him. But when you have
to a point,
4 to 5 kids that are all exactly Happy Gilmores with writing everything and sticking bread at everybody, like there can be a slight chuckle, and then it's just kind of done for me.
For whatever reason, it worked for me, and it brings me back to one very funny moment is when he had Shooter come to his house, and he said he refused to put on the Boston Bruins jersey, and like his boys were just like, "What?" It just, I don't know, it just made me laugh because it's something very much Happy Gilmore would do or say, and now you've got 4 or 5 of them just barking at him. It was funny. I don't know. It just worked for me, but.
Yeah, so let us know. Come to our Discords or socials. Let us know what you think. If you were more along the lines that it was a little more even if I didn't have any expectations or hopes for it going in. So that's why it almost felt even more disappointing that, like I said, I chalked this up like a Dumb and Dumber 2. Like they tried, but it just kind of failed because of how much they relied on nostalgia to kind of carry the film.
I think it's 100 times better than Dumb and Dumber 2. I really do. Dumb and Dumber 2 was god awful, and Dumb and Dumber is probably top 3 or 4 comedies for me because I can quote that movie verbatim. Dumb and Dumber 2 was terrible. Yeah. I will agree with you 1,000% on that. This is way better than Dumb and Dumber 2, like in my opinion. But you know, it's unfortunate. It's
interesting to have us so far apart on it, but yeah, I wanted to enjoy it, but I just couldn't get into it like you did. I'm glad you had fun with it.
We'll get back to it.
I just can't. So definitely Fantastic Four was my most fun of the week. Like, I was smiling. I was having such a good time. Like Reed felt like Reed. The stretching looked fantastic. Like I said, when I say Johnny stole the movie, for his scenes, Vanessa overall was the star of that movie. Agreed. She was Mama Bear. She was the stern wife that I still love as being a husband and a dad. When she walks in and sees Herbie building the crib and comes out to him, and it's like, yeah, so Herbie's building the crib, huh? It's supposed to be.
So yeah, I had him do it.
Like it was just their relationship felt so dynamic and real in that and stuff too. So the Fantastic Four First Steps was definitely my favorite thing to watch this week. And I was unfortunately disappointed in Happy Gilmore too. I had no expectations. I wasn't expecting it to be good, and it even went under my low expectations.
It's okay to be wrong. We'll come back to it. We'll circle back to it at some point.
Well, we could sit here and argue about Happy Gilmore 2 for probably another 30, 40 minutes or something.
We will when we're done. No,
but I mean, like I said, I'm glad you had fun with it. It was just too much for me.
Sure, and there's nothing wrong with that. I respect that opinion. I'm gonna wholeheartedly disagree, but hey, that's what we're here for. We're here to talk about our experiences with movies. We're not always gonna be on the same page, but I'm glad we got to still break it down and talk about it for sure. It's
Happy
why
Gilmore 2 is the divide between us.
Who would have thought?
But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you coming along on this journey every single week. Next week, we're going to be checking out 2 films that are vastly different from each other as well, with the Naked Gun reboot with Liam Neeson and The Bad Guys 2. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
To find all of the episodes of We'll Bring the Popcorn, go to our YouTube page, hit the like and subscription button so you're getting our episodes when they drop each and every Monday. If you're listening to us in the audio room on any of the podcasting platforms that we're on, please don't forget to give us a 5-star review. It really helps elevate the profile of the show. And don't forget to go to willbringthepopcorn.com, where it has all of our archive videos, all of our social media information, as well as our merch store, so you continue to support the show in that way. We cannot thank you enough for your continued support.